Thank you very much. I'm really sorry about that glitch. In fact, we just had a network problem. But be that as it may, we are back. I hope you are getting us across. Thank you very much. Yes, I was actually talking about this very important statistic, which I think you should all know in terms of where we are when it comes to the issue of voter registration. If you just look at this statistic, and I just want to shock you, if we go by what we have in terms of these figures and statistics for the June 2013 election, for those who are between the age of 18 and 22, only 2.3% voted. And that tells you that close upon 97% did not vote. So if you are in the age range between 18 and 22, are you part of the 2.3% or you are part of the almost 97% who did not vote? For those who are between the age of 23 to 29, almost 11.7% only voted. The rest did not, the remainder. 30 to 39, 30% voted, 70% did not. 40 to 49, 21% voted, about 69 did not vote. Again, those figures tell you that most of the people do not participate to vote. But I know some will say, but why should we vote? You should vote because your generation demands that you rescue it. You should vote because your nation demands that you should rescue it. You should vote because the future belongs to you. And this is why I've gone to great lengths to try and explain why it is very important for each and every one of the citizens listening to me or those whom you are able to influence. We're not going to be able as politicians, as leadership, to just convince you, all of you. You are also leaders unto your own right. In your family setup, in your church setup, in your domestic setup, in your community setup, even in your social circles. Please talk to your next fella. At workplaces, talk to your next friend, your pal. Tell them to register as voters. It has a value, which value we can never ever enumerate or articulate. So, guys, I've given you those statistics. I've also encouraged you to say, as far as we are concerned, it is our wish that would have all of you participating to register to vote. I just want to check the comments that have been coming through so that we're interactive. I had to respond to the issue of voter registration because a lot of you were saying, but in terms of the reforms, they have not been. The first reform was to have a credible voters roll, and we have achieved that. The key issue now is for you to be on that voters roll so that it is credible, but you are also there so that you are able to determine the future of our country. The second one has to do with access to the media in terms of fundamental reforms. Again, this one, we do not need to go to the traditional media with the social platforms. So we could actually go on those platforms. In the rural areas, we have to go on a door-to-door, house-to-house, person-to-person campaigns. And this is why the party is already on the various levels in terms of our structures, from the wards, the districts, and the provinces across the whole country. Our party is everywhere. And this is the only party, as you may know, which is national in outlook, which is national in footprint, which is everywhere. Even where you don't expect a structure to be there, we are there. So we are going to make sure that we will leave no stone unturned. In fact, we will leave no turn unstoned when it comes to making sure that we do everything necessary, even unnecessary, to reach out to people and encourage them to register to vote, including traditional leaders, including even the village heads, including even our war veterans, including even our community leaders, opinion leaders at various levels, our teachers, our headmasters. We are going to reach out to try and convince them why they should vote for the alternative. And it's possible for us to achieve change. We did it in 2008. You are aware that we participated. We ran a campaign that was quite progressive and aggressive. We have to repeat the same thing. And it's quite possible. So the issue of us being able to achieve the kind of change we would want to achieve is possible. Some of you may ask, but why should we even participate? What are the alternative policies of the MDC? It's a very important element. And I must say, once I have managed to go through your comments, which I am trying to locate here and I can't locate them, I just want to try and check what your comments are and make sure that those comments are responded to in a particular way so that I'm able to see them. In fact, I've just been trying to check on my iPad so that I also keep focusing on the camera. But I want to get some feedback in terms of your own questions, what you are asking, so that it's interactive. I'm not just saying things which you are not connecting to. So it's very important. I need those things to be sorted out. I've just seen now there is Chauraya Gideon just joining us. Thank you very much for joining us there. I also see a couple of guys who have just joined us. No, thank you guys. You are watching. Charlton, yes, you have joined us. My brother Ivan, oh, welcome, Fundis. Thank you very much. Yes, I see a lot of guys are joining. Thank you guys for coming on board and just to listen. Why should you vote for the MDC? I've heard this time and again. MDC does not have policies. The MDC does not have an alternative. All they are saying is Mugabe must go. No. Yes, we want Mr. Mugabe to go. But beyond Mr. Mugabe going, we don't also want Mr. Mugabe to go with the country. We want to make sure that we have an alternative narrative. Which alternative narrative we already have? We have two important documents as MDC, which documents are very important. Yes, I see my brother Mriti what they just indicating in terms of the broadcast having been interrupted. You know, these systems are always a bit tricky, but we are back online. I'm sure you are getting us, and we're getting us. You're getting us live. Thank you very much. Hopefully, yes, you are complaining about the interruption of the broadcasting we are doing from this end. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we're just saying in terms of our policies, in terms of our programs, we have an alternative blueprint, the New Zimbabwe Blueprint, but it has two fundamental documents. These fundamental documents, as far as we are concerned, are documents that have to deal with some of the things that we have to sort out, some of the things that we have to deal with in terms of the economic order. Yes. Thank you, my brother Brighton. I've just seen you. That the MDC has policies. I've seen them. What only need narration. Thank you very much. We have two fundamental documents that we are going to run with for the 2018 and beyond. The first document is what we are calling the project document. Now, in terms of the project document, this is the economic blueprint. We are saying, in terms of our economy, we had JUICE, which was the Jobs Upliftment and Investment Capital Injection Program. We are moving away from JUICE. We have said we need to update our policies, make sure that we respond to what the government has already done through ZimAsset and also through the interim poverty reduction strategy paper, which runs between 2016 to 2018. So we have actually updated our policies to make sure that we respond to the dictates that are out there in the market and also the developments that have taken place. The project document, project, which is an acronym for 5 fundamental policies that we are going to be dealing with. Number one, we are saying in order for us to resolve the economic issues, the first issue is production, which is the pro for the project. But the second one, in terms of us being able to deal with the issues we are dealing with, we need jobs creation to make sure that we have a jobs program, a jobs agenda for the young people, particularly in the rural areas, particularly in the urban areas where young people are almost, wallowing under about 97% of unemployment. The third one, which is also very, very important on the project, is the economic programs that we are going to put in place. We are talking about the fiscal reforms. We are talking about how we are going to deal with currency issues, the currency reform, how we are going to... I'm not going to go into the details of those because we are going to have a series whereby we're going to run item by item, pillar by pillar. But I've said with production, with the issue of fundamentally, which has to be sorted, a jobs program. The third one is the issue to deal with how we are going to have an economic upliftment program, an economic revival program. And of course, under those, with a stabilization program, how do we stop the hemorrhaging? How do we make sure that we eliminate cockpit in the noise in the cockpit? How do we make sure that we are consistent in terms of our policies? How do we eliminate noise, particularly when it comes to policies? There has to be consistency of policy within government. That we are going to deal with. Number 4 is the issue of confidence and dealing with corruption. Corruption is a fundamental issue. It's not just about having an anti-corruption mindset. We must have a pro-transformation and pro-transparency mindset. Again, we are going to unpack what we are talking about when it comes to corruption. Because, of course, as MDC, we have not also been very clean, particularly in the local authorities. We have had some bad apples. But the good thing is that we have flushed all those bad apples out of the basket. And we intend to do the same, even in government. You cannot expect us to form a government of angels. We also have some criminals who are going to be in the choir of angels. Those have to be eliminated. Those have to be dealt with. And we need strong leadership. We do not need to tolerate that kind of corrupt tendencies and activities. The last but not least is the issue of transformation, particularly technology transfer. You know, we have colleagues who are in the diaspora. We need you to come back with the skills, expertise. We need you to come back with that technology know-how you have. Those who are in the UK, those who are in the United States of America, in Australia, come back to help us rebuild our great nation. You are in the diaspora for a reason, for a restorative purpose, for a restorative agenda, and to rehabilitate our infrastructure and all those things. So that is our flagship in terms of the project document. It is a detailed document, and Dr. Mashakada, leading that economic blueprints program, has done a fantastic job. You also be taking the opportunity to unpack the various nuts and bolts to say, how do we move our economy from an informal platform to a formal platform? Our biggest problem, if you look at our National Labor Force survey that was done in 2014, 94% of our economy is informalized. How do we make sure that we move that informalized economy into the formal economy, and then increase our resource base, our revenue base, and then deal with other, you know, exigencies of the moment in terms of also dealing with expenditure retrenchment, the appetite to have recurrent expenditure. 97% of our, you know, expenditure is recurrent. We need to move onto the capital expenditure platform. That can only be possible once we have allowed those who are able to give us sound advice, particularly business, to give us an opinion in a, you know, forum or platform of working together. You know, in South Africa, they need, like, in our own situation, we need a tripartite forum: business, labor, government, coming together to say, how do we chart a way forward in the context of the 5 pillars I've just mentioned. So that's the economic blueprint. But we also have the broad policies under the SMART document. And SMART stands for Sustainable and Measurable Agenda for Real Transformation. We had policies from the inception of the MDC, but we need to popularize them. On SMART, we have 5 fundamental pillars again. The first one is governance. How are we going to govern better? How are we going to govern differently? How do we separate part from the state? Right now, if you go to our colleagues in ZANU-PF, they do not know the difference between ZANU-PF and the state and government. Government is for all of us. You don't need what is called partocracy, the conflation of the state and the part. We need a separation. Let the party be the part. But when we are in government, this is now the melting pot. This is now the denominator point. In the parties, we may be in our numerator circumstances. But when we come to government, this is where everyone must be welcome. In fact, there's governance changes. We are going to say, for the first time, the head of state has to engage with the opposition, the official opposition, to get their views about the future of the country. Instead of Mr. Mugabe shunning or attacking President Tsvangirai, he must engage the leader of the opposition. What are your views? How do you see things? That's a governance culture. We must have reforms within the police. We do not need a police force. We need a police service. To be able to do this, a human rights culture has to be sorted out. A human rights culture has to be effected into how our police officers work. In fact, I must say, you go to homicide, you go to the vehicle theft squad, our police officers are second to none when it comes to their competencies. They do a fantastic job. As a lawyer, I've worked with them. I see how they work. There are areas where the police have not done very well, particularly the rioters element and those who deal with containing the public. We need to deal with our human rights record. But again, that's part of the governance. Devolution is the next revolution. We need to make sure that local communities deal with their local issues. That is possible only when we have put a governance culture which has to respond to the issues that I have raised, but also the structure of government. We do not need a bloated government. We do not need that omnibus parliament. Let's move from an omnibus parliament to a minibus parliament, a parliament that is able to deliver to people, perhaps 120 people. Of course, it's a constitutional issue, but that is our commitment as government. Once we go into government, we are going to deal with those things. Even this whole issue of a bloated government has to be dealt with so that we have a mean, lean cabinet that is able to deliver. That's just on the governance. Infrastructure, how do we make sure that our local chiefs, our traditional chiefs, are dovetailed into the modern systems of government, interacting with the local authorities so that we're able to retain certain functions. I'll go into the details much later, but I just highlighting the main planks, the main canons, and there are 5. Number 1 is governance. Number 2 is the issue of the economic, blueprint or the economic responses. I've already touched on this. I've told you about the project document, and I don't need to go into that. We need to leverage on our tourism, low-hanging fruits that we have. We need to leverage on our service industry. We need also to create new cities in Vic Falls, new cities in terms of Matopos, Nyanga. We need to have new cities, not just to rely on the Smith regime cities and towns. We need to grow new cities, new urban center, so that we take development to the people rather than taking people to bring them to what we believe is a development, when in fact it's not development. So that's the second issue. The third issue has to do with our social interventions, your issue of health, your issue of education, your issue of making sure that we deal with pensioners, a national health system. Our pensioners are supposed to be supported. Our pensioners are supposed to be given support. All those issues are things that we are supposed to deal with. I see Francis there, you're saying you must use 4G. Yes, we're actually on a very robust platform, but we just had a challenge with our phone. But I'm glad now you can actually follow what we're discussing. So yes, I was talking about the third element, which is the social interventions, our social safety nets for the elderly. We must have a program for those who are above 65 to make sure that they are catered for and they are looked after. Again, this is part of our smart document. When we are talking about the smart document, we are talking about smart governance programs, smart economics, or smart social programs. But the fourth one, which is very important and fundamental, is the issue of infrastructure and institutions. We need to build a strong and robust infrastructure support base, smart infrastructure in terms of roads. These pillars to civilization, your energy, your communication, your water systems in the rural areas and in urban areas, talking about rural upliftment as a program to make sure that we focus on rural areas and make sure that we're able to do things. Last but not least is an important element, which is the issue of engaging with the international community, building ourselves as a civilized member of the family of nations. Again, our smart, foreign relations and diplomacy are issues that we are going to deal with. So these are just simplified, policies in terms of the benchmarks. But I'm going to have more series, one after the other, articulating these policies and also asking our party information department to deal with those. But just to indicate to you that we have an alternative program, and you should not worry about the MDC. We showed you during the inclusive government. When I became minister, you remember that the SIM card was very expensive. And I told people that, it's going to be cheaper than tomatoes on a market. And now you go, you can actually get more than one SIM card, and you can throw away one, get another one. I said that, and most of the people thought, no, it was quite a pipe dream. But there we are. We now have even ubiquitous connectivity in the country. But this is not where we would want to be. We want to even have total, seamless connectivity. That is only possible with an e-government. That is only possible with a government that is techno-savvy. And please, this is why we are saying register to vote for that to be possible. It's possible to make our country great again. It's possible to provide opportunity to citizens through government. It's possible to be an alternative and to be the center and powerhouse of what people would want to learn about how we manage our economy, our governance, our politics. That is possible on that platform. So, guys, yes, I doesn't like there's much visibility in the rural areas. Yes, I hear you, Surprise Pembere. You are talking about visibility, my dear. We are in the rural areas. In fact, most of our weekends, even during middays, we've deployed a lot of our senior leaders to go and do low-key meetings. Mind you, we do not also want to blow our own trumpets when it comes to how we approach these things, because you also cause problems around vulnerabilities, violence for our people. But I can tell you that we are there, and we know that when you are about to catch a notorious criminal, noise is not the best formula. So I want to say, don't worry about what we are doing in the rural areas. We are there in the church communities. We are there in the villages. We are there, amongst our, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers. So we are doing. I see where BGT is a future with these sharp brains. Oh, thank you, my brother. Philip, thank you so much. I can see some of the comments, those are which comments which I have not seen, please just bear with me. But I think I've addressed the issue of voter registration. I've addressed the issue of why we should vote the MDC in terms of alternative policies, which we are going to run a series once we have formally launched them. We are yet to launch them because we're just dealing with some internal party process, but the documents are ready in terms of both the SMART document and the project document. I also see that there's the issue you wanted me to touch on, the issue of the internal MDC politics. We are a stable party. Forget about any challenges. President Tsvangirai is doing very well. He is recovering. We are happy that he's recovering. In his recovery, we are going to be definitely steering the ship on his behalf because that's why we are there with the deputy president. I know some people have been saying, why is it that you have 3 deputy presidents? This is a party. This is not a government. In a government, the ideal is to have one vice president appointed by the president. But in a party, we can have 1 million vice presidents to make sure that we are equal to the task at hand. And this is why you have myself dealing with the young people, Dr. Kupe dealing with the women's side and also dealing with parliament there. You also have Engineer Muzuri dealing with the business community and also the mature. I deal with the techno savvy element, especially that's why you are finding me doing this sort of thing on behalf of the leadership of the party to make sure that our programs are heard, our programs are appreciated. But we are a good team. Forget about what is in the newspapers about this person is fighting that one. We don't believe that in generating heat we're able to provide light for the people of Zimbabwe. So we need to come together and continue to be united, you and ourselves as the leadership, to deal with the issues that are supposed to be dealt with. Getting every vote to count, getting every voice to be registered, getting every Zimbabwean to be participating. So guys, thank you very much. We are going to be on this platform almost every week, time permitting, at 7 o'clock, maybe for about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on your engagement. Yes, so I'm really very happy that we are working together. And I must say that there are people whom I have seen on the platform, like my colleague who is saying, Mr. Chamisa, you always talk about God. Yes, that has been the fundamental problem of Zimbabwe. When you have a leadership that does not fear God, it will never fear the people. When you have a leadership that loves God, it will love the people, because it becomes natural. If you love the people of God, you will then love the God of the people. So, but the first thing is for you to love God of the people. Understand God. Understand Him who created the universe. This beautiful, wonderful country was created by God. So I'm not ashamed of the belief I have and the authority of the Maker. We respect that we have all the resources, human and material, all endowed in our country, coming from the Almighty. And we must give Him honor. We must make sure that we go back and resolve issues of corruption of worship, so that we worship our God. And we thank our God, we celebrate our God for the resources we have. And I'm not ashamed about that. I'm not ashamed of that. And I will continue to even say, yes, we have freedom of worship, but for me and for our country, we must also exalt the Lord. Because even whatever you worship ultimately bows down to the God, the Almighty. And there's no debate about that. But the key thing is that let us understand that leadership must begin with the fearing and loving of our God. And that way, you will not have problems or difficulties fearing and loving the people you lead. Because these people belong to a Maker. You can't drive a vehicle without understanding the manual from the manufacturer. So guys, I want you to understand that yes, there are a lot of people who are so condescending when it comes to the alternative we give. You have every right to question where we are lagging behind, but I must say that we will try our best to make sure that